Hey 12, it's the Seahawks Squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Let's go, 12s. You guys made yourselves be heard today. Man, that's the Seahawks home game that I'm used to seeing, guys. Well done. All right. Yeah. Seahawks dominate this one, 44-13. Moved to 2-1 on the season against the New Orleans Saints. Man, the Saints are way worse than I thought they were. Oh, man. But how much of it was the Saints were bad and how much of it was the Seahawks were good? We'll talk about that. I got Chris Crawford. I got Rob Rang with us today here on the Seahawks Squad Show. We go live right after every single Seahawks football game. Really appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. Seahawks moved to 2-1 on the regular season, and especially with the Rams loss earlier. And then obviously one of San Francisco and Arizona is going to lose in their game today as well. You're setting yourself up to be in an okay spot going into Thursday night against the Arizona Cardinals. But I want to get the original thoughts of this dominating win by the Seattle Seahawks. We'll start with Chris Crawford because he was the first one on the stream. Chris Crawford, what did you think of this game today?
So just a real quick heads up to everyone. If you see me looking up, it's not because I don't care. It's not because I'm distracted by Anders and Rob being so dang handsome. It's because there is a certain event that I have to cover that I'm watching too. So we really appreciate everyone who's coming out to check this out while that big event is going on. Just dominant football. And it was all of the facets of the game. The special teams were so good today. So good. And that's an area that's been kind of a question mark for the Seahawks over the last year plus. And there's been some heat on Mr. Harbaugh, if we're being completely honest, right? Like a lot of talk about, hey, what's going on with that situation? But they were so good in every facet of the game outside of maybe the running game. And that, it's funny that we got Rob or Mr. Turbo joining us right now to talk about the run game. But you can't complain about anything when you win by that much against an NFL team. It's barely an NFL team. And some of you might remember that Nostradamus Chris, when he was doing his predictions, well, he was wrong about the first one and he was wrong about the second one. But I said the literal words, God help us if they lose to the Saints at home. And boy, oh boy, they made sure that wasn't going to happen. Torrey Horton was absolutely spectacular today. Thought Sam Darnold played an outstanding football game. This was really fun.
Yeah, really quick before I get to Rob Rang and Turbo here, I want to mention that this episode's brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights on this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And I think it's a perfect sponsor for today's show because, man, did the boys up front move the other guys today. Rob, what were your thoughts on today's game? Just an absolute dominant win for the Seattle Seahawks.
It was a dominant win. I think that we can basically break down all three phases of the play for the Seahawks. I think that you have to start off the conversation with what we talked about here with special teams. I think that Jay Harbaugh's squad deserves an awful lot of credit. Obviously, the big Torrey Horton punt return for a touchdown, 95-yarder, setting a franchise record. I mean, how cool is that for the rookie to be able to come back and then catch a touchdown pass from Sam Darnold for Torrey Horton as well. So I think that he is easily the star of the game in a lot of different ways. But I just thought the Seattle special teams just played outstanding football all over the place. I mean, the big punt, the fact that they were able to consistently be able to kind of slow down the New Orleans return game. They had some returns later in the game that kind of showed that they had some fire, and good for Kellen Moore. Because I was kind of rooting for the Prosser High legend coming back to the state of Washington. But I thought that the Seattle clearly was the better football team, as Nostradamus predicted weeks ago that the Seattle was going to be dominant in this football game. They certainly were. So I thought that the defense played terrific football, that the running game, when it needed to be effective, it was effective. It was not dominant, not as dominant as I thought that maybe that Seattle might be offensively against New Orleans. But my goodness, when you basically get gifted several easy scores in the football game, kind of like what we saw a week ago, gentlemen, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that when you're able to get easy points, and it just makes everything else so much easier.
Yeah, and we welcome in our Seahawks running back, RB1, Robert Turbin with us, a.k.a. Turbo. Appreciate him joining the stream. Appreciate all y'all hanging out with us after the Seahawks 44-13 win over the New Orleans Saints. Turbo, thoughts on the game? Just a dominant win for the Seahawks.
Yeah, man, it was fun to watch. You know, anytime I tell you as a player, like anytime you just like dominating guys like this, you spend most of the time cracking jokes on the sideline and cheering on, you know,
yeah,
your other teammates. It could be because it's rare, really. I mean, you know, despite whatever the record might be. I mean, look, Cleveland beat the Packers today, right?
Sure.
And so, despite what your record might be or where you are at a certain point during the season, man, these games are typically competitive. And so, when you are a part of a blowout like this, you really do enjoy it as a player. So it was cool to see that in all three phases, the Seahawks really kind of came together. I think the word that I would, you know, kind of put on it is complementary. They play complementary football today. All three phases kind of working hand in hand, and it you know, kind of earned them a dominant win today.
Yeah, I think a much needed statement win. It wasn't just that the Seahawks won this game, it's how they did it, and especially that it was at home and that the home field advantage played a factor, especially early on in the game with all the false starts and the penalties and the holdings and everything that was going on. You could feel the momentum start to shift back and to be like, yeah, this is our home, guys. I know we're 1-7 in our last 8 games at Lumen Field, but we're going to establish that that's no longer going to be the case. This is going to be a place where teams are going to fear coming in to Seattle and trying to get a result. So, Chris, just tell me what your thoughts were on the preparation for Seattle coming into today, because I think it looked like a team that really wanted to prove that they were not overlooking this Saints team whatsoever, even with guys out in important positions in the secondary specifically.
Yeah, and I think that what you saw there was that they were going to keep everything in front of them. Every single thing was going to be kept in front of them. I think they had a long gain of 21, and that was on a nice play by Juwan Johnson, who, you know, I was nervous when I saw the amount of players in the secondary that the Seattle Seahawks were not going to have. I was a little nervous to see how the safeties were going to react. Alvin Kamara, who's been one of the best receiving backs in football, I was a little nervous how they were going to react to that. But clearly the defensive game plan was keep everything in front of you, make Spencer Rattler beat you, and Spencer Rattler is not going to beat you. Spencer Rattler is very much a developmental quarterback in this league and isn't ready for this type of action, isn't ready to face that type of defense away 2,600 miles or whatever it is from New Orleans. But I like the offensive game plan as well. I thought that they did a really nice job with play action, setting everything up. This was one of the better scripted games, I thought, from the Seattle Seahawks, and that's one of the reasons, on top of your special teams just being an absolute unit, that you get out to such a big lead.
Yeah, and I want to start with that start, as we always do on the Mariners postcast with myself and Chris Crawford. But I think the start was huge. When you drive down the field in your first drive and you score a touchdown for the first time at home in, I can't even remember how long it's been since that happened. I want to say Corbin mentioned that they were outscored 31-0 in first possessions at home last year. So that is crazy to me that you don't even get a field goal, but you kind of exercise those demons, score the touchdown. You're helped by some penalties by New Orleans. And that's kind of where I want to go, Rob, with you. How much of this, and you could tell that the Saints are not a very good football team in the NFL at this point in the year. How much of this was the Seahawks dominance versus the Saints just not being a good enough team today? I want to know what percentage you split between these two.
I think that the Seahawks are a team that is poised to make a big postseason run. So when I kind of throw a little bit of shade on the New Orleans Saints here for a moment, I want to make sure, again, that people understand that I think that the Seahawks are going to be a team that is going to be able to reassert the home field advantage that they have. And again, I think this is a quality football team. That said, I think that the drop-off between the New Orleans Saints starting right tackle, Taliesin Fuaga, and I'm not even going to mention the backup by name in this case because he just really struggled in this football game. As Mike Morris got into the field later for the Seahawks, taking over for Leonard Williams and for Jaron Reed and for DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, Mike Morris still was absolutely dominating that right side of the offensive line for New Orleans as well. And Spencer Rattler at the quarterback position for New Orleans, he is a developmental quarterback. You're absolutely right, Chris. I mean, and to put him in a position in which he is asked to basically kind of carry the load when he doesn't have much pass protection, that the Saints, of course, have a first-round selection in Kelvin Banks Jr. at the left tackle position. I just thought that the inexperience of that offensive line, their struggles with being able to hear the snap count, I thought that was just one of the biggest reasons why the Seahawks defense was able to just kind of throttle New Orleans offense. So you asked me to put a numbers on it, Anders. I would say that this is 75% that Seattle is just much better football team. But I also thought that there's a solid 25% here where the New Orleans Saints are going to struggle when they have that tackle tandem out there on the field. They are going to struggle just about anywhere if they're going to be playing on an opposing team's turf. I will say this, and again, I think the Seahawks deserve an awful lot of credit here. Those New Orleans Saints, their first two matchups, they did lose, but they were within a touchdown. Those were legitimate games, and this was an absolute blowout, of course, by the end of the first quarter.
Yep. Okay. Let's take a quick break. I want to get Turbo's thoughts on two different things. Number one, on fellow Mountain West alum Torrey Horton breakout game. Let's go. I want to hear what Turbo has to say about him because I know he's called a lot of his games, and I'm sure he's watched a lot of film on Mr. Torrey Horton. He's seen this coming for a while, and of course, with Zach Charbonnet out, Ken Walker, I want to know his thoughts on the run game from this game today. So we'll grab our RB1's thoughts right after this quick break here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Seahawks win this one 44-13. We'll be right back. This episode's brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just make more or less picks on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I find it a lot easier personally using PrizePicks than trying to, piece together parlays here and there, finding the money lines and then the over-unders on this. PrizePicks is super easy. You make a lineup from 2 to 6 player projections, and then you can take what you think is going to happen and turn it into real cash prizes. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks is, of course, is good to be right. Welcome back to Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, and I bring in my 3 fellow experts today. I got Chris Crawford, Robert Turbin, and Rob Rang with you. I want to hear the thoughts of our RB1 on Ken Walker today because stat line wise, it may look relatively underwhelming when you win a game 44-13 and you look at Ken Walker's stat line. But man, I think in a game where you don't have your true backup in Zach Charbonnet, you don't have the ability to lean on that when you need to. He was good in the pass game. He broke out runs when you needed him to. I swear his I think it was in the third quarter, maybe it was in the second quarter, but his run for -1 yards may have been the best -1 yard run I've seen in my life when he hurt the defender. But Turbo, what do you think of Ken Walker's play today as someone who obviously has played the position at a super high level?
So week 1, he ran really unsure of himself, second guessing. He kind of went back to the old Ken Walker, right, when he was a rookie. Kind of hesitant in the hole, right? Didn't want to get downhill. Heard the noise and completely changed. He just runs like he don't care no more. And it's about attitude. We talked about it in the pregame. I think it was Friday night when we did the show. And so right now, the difference I see with Ken Walker is not about him reading the holes. And he's running with attitude. And that helps him then be more decisive when the crease is there. and be more decisive when he wants to bounce it outside and be more decisive when he's in pass protection and making his moves and things of that nature. And so that has really helped him the last 2 games perform at a much higher level.
Yeah, and I also want to get your thoughts on Torrey Horton, because obviously as someone who calls Mountain West games for CBS Sports, who is a Mountain West alum himself, you've seen this guy play. You've watched his film. You sung his praises early before this game started. You got a touchdown from him last week in Pittsburgh, but it felt like this was his true coming out party today, and it was great to see him get the not just a punt return touchdown, but he caught a pass touchdown as well. So good for him. I want to get your thoughts on him. Can he be a big part in this offense? It seems like he kind of is the guy that when things are going really, really well, he seems to be at the center of it all right now.
Well, he can certainly be a key piece in this offense, to answer your question, because a lot of the attention is going to go to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then you can't forget about the savvy veteran in Cooper Kupp. Didn't have a great day today, but he's the guy that you can always depend on,
right,
to be able to make plays. And so then it's like, okay, if those 2 guys, for whatever reason, can't get going, who's the third guy that we can absolutely lean on and depend on in our offense to be able to get the ball to, in situational moments. And Torrey Horton is that guy. When I watched him when he was in college, anytime a third down situation came up, anytime a critical moment in the game came up, it was like, where's Torrey Horton? You knew the ball was going to go his way. And so he's a crafty player. He just finds ways to get open. And then, his catch radius isn't crazy, but his contested catch, the way he can catch the ball in contested situations is really the part that separated him, especially in college. You saw that today on the touchdown pass. And so I think he can be a huge piece in this offense, to answer your question. Absolutely.
Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on Torrey Horton? And, you were also someone who was very high on him going into the season because, with the loss of DK Metcalf, you need someone to kind of stretch the field a little bit. And I don't doubt the ability for Jackson Smith and Jigba to be that guy that can beat someone in behind as well.
Sure.
But having someone who can unlock a defense like that and really, go over the top as much as he can, and you saw his speed. It's another level with him to me.
Yeah.
How big is that for this offense moving forward?
It's so big. It changes what you can do so much when you have to pay attention to a guy like that. And, I didn't think of him as punt returner 1,
No.
when they drafted him, but man, is he ever punt returner 1? He showed that shift. He showed that burst. And again, I was such a huge fan of this guy watching him at Colorado State. I thank you, NBC Sports, for always giving me the 8:00 football game to cover on CBS Sports so that I can watch Torrey Horton play. That guy's a baller, man. And again, I've talked about it a bunch. If not for the injury, that's a guy who goes 50, 75 picks higher. Like that's what happens, right? And it was a draft that was fairly deep in wide receivers, but Torrey Horton's got a chance to make a lot of people feel really foolish. As for the run game, I actually thought it was pretty solid. Walker ran really hard, really, really hard. It wasn't a question of like missing holes or just lack of decisiveness, as Robert mentioned, especially in a game like that where it's such a butt kicking. That's the nice way to put it. You're going to see 8, 9 fronts, right? You're going to see they're selling out to make sure that they stop the run, get the ball back as quick as possible, and maybe get yourself back into the football game. That I'm so glad you brought up. That -1 yard run is the most impressive -1 yard run I've ever seen in my entire life, because the shiftiness to get back to the line of scrimmage, then the hurdle over homeboy so that you get that loss of 1 yard. That was impressive. And that's stuff that I'm just going to be honest with you. Zach Charbonnet can't do that. He's a good football player, but Zach Charbonnet can't do that. And that's not an insult to Charbonnet. It's a complete compliment to Kenneth Walker. Yeah, it's only 18 carries for 38 yards. And the 2 touchdowns, that also hurts the yards per carry, by the way. You can only go so far.
Yeah.
I thought Kenneth Walker played a really solid football game. I wouldn't say the offensive line was at its absolute best in run blocking today, but I think they did a pretty good job considering the fronts they were facing as well.
Let's move to the quarterback, Mr. Rob Rang, because I feel like it's kind of a third straight week where Sam Darnold flies under the radar for good or for bad. But it's one of those days where he does everything you need him to do today. And I get it. Like, the Saints defense, it was not the part of the game where I was, feeling a little bit iffy. It was the other side of the ball, and we'll get to that here in the next segment. But man, he operates in this offense so efficiently. And can you just put in perspective, his ability to just find his guys at the right time? He's not going to dominate the stat sheet, especially in this offense, but evaluate Sam Darnold's play today and kind of in context with the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that what he is demonstrating throughout the season so far, guys, is he is just deadly efficient. I think that the knock on him in comparison to his predecessor, Geno Smith, is that, Sam Darnold was supposedly kind of a function of the Minnesota offense, a function of all the talent that they had as far as pass catcher, but that he was not that accurate. Well, at least in these first 3 football games, he has proven himself to be incredibly accurate passer. I mean, the only times that we've seen his receivers have to slow down or adjust their routes is when he's had some literally hitting him. Otherwise, he basically has put it where the defender cannot do anything about it. I mean, the touchdown throw to Torrey Horton in the corner of the end zone, I thought was a perfect demonstration of just a pinpoint accurate football. That ball is either going to be caught by your receiver or it's going to go out of bounds. And, I think he had 2 incompletions in this entire football game. And one of those was a smart, just basically throwing the ball into the dirt to allow for a Jason Myers field goal. So again, he strikes me as the kind of quarterback that Mike McDonald is always going to be looking for, a guy that is going to bury the ball if he has to, rather than try to make some incredible play. We saw Spencer Rattler's inexperience, by the way, where he kind of bought some time and then decided to throw a late pass that he shouldn't have thrown. And so, again, I think that you just see the experience of a Sam Darnold, the cool, calm customer that is Sam Darnold. And I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why, again, I feel very confident this is a Seahawks team that is built for a long postseason run.
Chris, did you see it?
I think I'm about to see it right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll let you react. Okay. Yeah, there it is. I'm a little ahead of Chris Crawford here. We have the Mariners game on the other channel, but Seahawks win this one 44-13. Robert Turbin will be back with us in just a moment. He's getting some stuff sorted out with his Wi-Fi, I believe. But so I love what you said about Sam Darnold there, Mr. Rob Rang, because I think it strikes me he's the guy that kind of is the perfect balance between someone who can make a play when you absolutely need him to, but he's not forcing it. He's not the guy that's making unnecessary errors. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And yes, I can also agree that he hasn't really been asked to make those plays at this point in the season. Just by the 3 games that the Seahawks have played, I will be curious to see if the Seahawks ever do find themselves down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter by something where he starts to need to gunsling it a little bit more. I am curious to see how that turns out. But in terms of how the offense is being operated right now, I think he's doing exactly what you need him to. And again, it's a perfect compliment. It's like it's everyone says the system QB is kind of a derogatory term. Sure. I think it's starting to become something where it's coming back to be like, hey, I want a system QB at this point. Sure. It's like coming back around a little bit. I want a guy that just operates the offense, that does exactly what we need him to do. And he can also do those off-script plays. I loved the bootleg to his left, the first touchdown to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Perfect timing. Rolling to your left and throwing as a right-handed quarterback is so difficult to do in the NFL, especially with those tight windows. So I completely agree with you, Rob Rang. Let's get to the other side of the ball. I want to ask you guys about the defense because this is.
Can I say just one thing real quick?
Yeah, Sam Darnold, go ahead.
The thing about system quarterbacks too is not every quarterback can run every system, right? Like it's not just a lot of people just assume system quarterback means paint by numbers, brush here, brush there, and that's what it's going to be, right? No, that's not really it. You've got to be able to, and I think in this system too, there's so much checks and balances with what's going on that you do have to have the ability to move off. He had a throw today to Derek Young where I thought, when he let go of the ball, Derek Young ran the wrong route. No, it was just such good anticipation on that throw that he gets the ball to Young before Young is even kind of broke into the route. It was such an impressive play. Sam Darnold was fantastic. I kind of feel bad for the receivers and the quarterback today because if this game would have been remotely close, Sam Darnold is putting up numbers. The Saints secondary sucks out loud. Holy crap. There were so many guys open, and can we just stop now? Jackson Smith and Jigba can play whatever freaking position he wants. He is a star. He can do anything he wants. That guy's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in the next 2 years.
Going to be?
Yeah, he's not there yet. There's some really good ones. There's some really good ones. I'll put him top 10, though.
I think it's an argument. I think it's an argument.
He's a terrific player. There's no doubt about it. I mean, with Jackson Smith,
sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
He is continuing to. No, but I think with JSN, he's kind of continuing to exceed my expectations. And of course, I had him as a first-round selection. But I still have just been so impressed by just the savviness of his route running. He's stronger than he was before. He's quicker than he was before. I still have questions about his elite straight line speed, which kind of goes back to our point before about Torrey Horton. But at the same time, again, and Turbo used the word complementary, and I thought it's a really good word about how the Seahawks team kind of complements each other. It's not just about the complementary football offense, defense, and special teams complement each other. It's the way their receivers, the way their offensive line, the way their quarterback, they all really, it feels like a very well scouted and developed team that really do kind of mix and match together to create a kind of a perfect orchestra almost of how to score points in today's modern NFL.
Yeah, I completely agree. And everyone kind of talks about maybe the pass happy offense and all the skill position players getting more and more love in today's NFL. I almost think there's been a little bit of a correction to where a lot of teams, the Philadelphia Eagles are the classic example, where you just need to be efficient in the offense and you need to dominate the line of scrimmage, and you don't need to put up 70 points a game to win. And you don't need to put up 500 yards passing every single day. Right. So I totally agree with you. I think in today's NFL, like what the Seahawks are doing right now, and I realize again, it's New Orleans Saints. They're not a great football team, but you still dominated a team that, like Chris said very eloquently, they didn't get dominated in their first 2 games against the 49ers, and I believe it was the Cardinals in week 1, correct? So that kind of puts you, and I realize like you lost game 1 to the 49ers, week 1 to the 49ers, the Seahawks did. But you compare yourself to other teams in the league, and being able to do this today tells you that this team is on the right track. And I think what they're doing is going to prove to give dividends in the long term. Okay. Offensively, we kind of covered our bases there. Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, because this is where I actually had a little bit of worry. I feel like I thought the Seahawks would win this game, but it would be a little bit closer because I had the belief in Kellen Moore's system. I think Alvin Kamara is a stud. And I actually, going into the game, thought Spencer Rattler can make some plays. The Seahawks shut down all 3 of those aspects of the game today. Let's talk about the other side of the ball with some injuries here right after this quick timeout. Seahawks Squad Show. Seahawks win 44-13. We will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep the game moving forward. This week's moment to move the game forward is, and there's a few guys you could go with here. I thought about going with Torrey Horton. I thought about going with Sam Darnold, but I'm going to go with Kobe Bryant. And I think what he did to move the game forward was he set that intimidating pose, or it set that force that the ball couldn't just go over the middle today. Yes, there was no Nick Emenwari. Yes, there was no Julian Love. Yes, there was no Devin Witherspoon. But Kobe Bryant and, Josh Jobe as well. But in particular to me, Kobe Bryant, the job that he did keeping everything in front today and being that enforcer and also showing that pretty solid pass defense as well. is what kept that game moving forward. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. I love what Chris said about Kobe Bryant there because I completely agree with you, and especially with the injuries that you had in the secondary today. Rob, I want to get your thoughts just overall on the defense today. I was a little worried coming into today with the ability to scheme up a good game plan from Kellen Moore. They have good playmakers. Chris Olave is still a really good receiver in this league. Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs in this league. And I still think Spencer Rattler can make some plays. Yes, he's going to make some rookie mistake, or not rookie, but early starter mistakes. But
sure.
The Seahawks completely shut them down. They had nothing going. And even at the first half, it wasn't a time of possession dominance. It was they can't even move the ball at this point. So how impressive was the defense today to you?
Well, I thought it was terrific. Obviously, any game when you win by this amount of points, then the defense obviously had a very strong game. At the same time, I thought that, again, New Orleans' lack of depth along the offensive line, I thought was taken advantage of by Seattle's dominating defensive line. And anytime you can control the line of scrimmage, then it's going to make it a lot easier. I thought it was telling how the Saints, because like you, Anders, I have a great deal of faith in Kellen Moore's ability to scheme up a game plan. I like Spencer Rattler's accuracy and just courage to throw passes downfield, and the speed that the Saints have at the wide receiver position. I thought it was telling that they did not try to go against Reek Woolen very often. That they repeatedly went against Josh Jobe, and that resulted in some big plays by Josh Jobe. He continues to make big physical plays. Also got himself a couple of penalties in this football game. So I thought that was interesting that the Saints decided to go that route. I really did think that Juwan Johnson was going to be a bigger part of their offense. To Chris's point here, I mean, that was a concern. You're down basically two safeties in Julian Love and Nicky Manmori. Your linebackers have struggled at times to be able to cover running backs and tight ends, in the passing game. Then again, I thought that was something that Seattle might be vulnerable to. But to be able to collapse the running game, collapse basically any opportunity for the Saints to run the football, and then of course you get out to the big lead. And then that basically erases any chance for New Orleans to try to run the football. So it was a game plan. I think that Seattle had the huge advantage because they have the talent. But at the same time, I think that when the game went the way that it did, then it just made it that much easier for Mike Macdonald's squad just to kind of flex on the Saints.
Yeah, Chris, you kind of mentioned your player of the game there in Kobe Bryant, but just speak to the defense as a whole, because I think it was very impressive today.
They were really good. I mean, Spencer Rattler completes 28 passes today for 218 yards, right? Everything was just chunk down, like just lots of 2nd and 6, even with completions, lots of those types of plays where the defense is still in control of the down, but they did a really nice job with their run defense as well. Turbo, I'm so glad you're back because I wanted to ask you a question specifically.
What up?
You're down 35-3. And your coach settles for field goals on 2 drives to end the half. As a player, how are you feeling about that?
Well, if I'm on the Saints sideline, I'm probably – I mean, it is what it is, The score not look as bad.
Fair.
The competitor in you wants to go for it, but at the end of the day, I think even players have an understanding that, like, man, when it's just not going your way, even aside from that, like when you don't have it, when you just know you don't have the talent this particular day, kick the field goal. Kick it. So I don't mind that choice.
Fair.
All right. So, Turbo, I just want your thoughts on the defense overall, because I thought they were pretty dominant today.
They were all over the place, man. You expected them to make Spencer Rattler uncomfortable in the pocket. Mike Macdonald brought some pressures. He didn't even stop blitzing when the game was out of hand. He was still bringing pressure, man, in that fourth quarter. And I think that's more of a mentality thing. I think that's some of it is about, get some stuff on film so they can see what it looks like, get some stuff on film so other teams can see too. hey, be on the lookout for this. Gives them an opportunity to potentially switch some things up later on down the road.
Yeah.
But the defense was aggressive, man, and this is what we expected. The offensive line not great for the Saints, and obviously they've got some good playmakers in terms of skill position. But your skill positions can only go so far as your, offensive line and line of scrimmage is going to take you. So, a dominant performance by the defense, man, and it's exactly what you wanted to see.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Rob earlier, Turbo. How much of this is the fact that A, the Saints just aren't a very good football team, and B, having all their second, third string guys in, especially in the offensive line, versus how well did the Seahawks play? How much of this can translate into further in the season? Basically, is how I'm asking.
Oh, it can translate. It can translate. Really far. I mean, really well. I mean, honestly, you look at how the defense could have still come out there and been lackadaisical and, kind of let the Saints, be in this football game.
Yeah.
Historically, Alvin Kamara's played really well against the Seahawks, right? And so we didn't allow that today.
Sure.
So the fact that this defense came out and didn't take this team lightly says a lot about, the mentality of this team. And that's why it can translate in terms of going far. Now, does the Saints not being a good team have something to do with it? Yeah, of course. Sure. But what are you supposed to do when a team is, not as – you're supposed to take advantage and give them a beat down. And that's what the Seahawks did today.
All right, let's the Seahawks win this one 44-13. They go to 2-1 on the season. By the way, it is a final in Santa Clara. The San Francisco 49ers beat the Arizona Cardinals 16-15.
Oh.
Eddie Pinheiro makes a 35-yard field goal as time expires. Arizona goes into the Thursday night football game against the Seahawks 2-1, even with the Seahawks in the division. 49ers are somehow 3-0 after barely beating the Seahawks, barely beating the Saints, and barely beating the Cardinals, man. Like, I don't know how this goes. Like,
did Jake Tongues do anything? Because he started for me.
He had 2 catches for 21 yards today.
Damn it.
Worst case scenario for Turbo. Worst case scenario. 49ers win, but Jake Tongas does nothing. All right, let's come back. Me and Chris Crawford do a Mariners post-game show as well, by the way. They're up 7-0 at this point. Cal Raleigh has hit number 58 on the season, looking for a sweep of the Houston Astros. Go Mariners. We always do an unsung hero, someone who doesn't maybe get the headlines from the day. I'm going to ask who you guys feel the unsung hero is from this game in the Seahawks victory against the New Orleans Saints on the other side of the break on the Seahawks Squad Show. We'll talk to you guys on the other side. Thanks so much. We'll be right back. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is awesome because it's my favorite app to use if you're going to go with a betting website, just because it's so easy to track everything. You can go into the live bets if you want to do during a game. You can go to the over-unders. You can do futures if you want. However you want to bet, FanDuel makes it super easy, and it's you can cash out anytime you want. It's the simplest app, and I could not recommend it anymore if you're into that stuff. You want to have some juice on a game. Maybe you're gonna throw some juice down on the Seahawks beating the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. I would personally. I think we're going in with the right trajectory here, so we'll see how that ends up. But if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, and Robert Turbin with you. Let me get rid of my FanDuel overlay there. Let's do our unsung hero. We usually do it for the Mariners game, myself and Chris Crawford on our Mariners postcast. Tune in later today, by the way, after the Mariners win on Locked On Mariners on YouTube. Appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. It's the easiest way to support us. Super easy. Just click that one button and you're good to go. Chris Crawford, who's your unsung hero from today's game?
Ooh, there's a few that I'd like to point out. I sang the praises of Kobe Bryant. We've talked about Josh Jobe, who I thought played a really good game today. I'll go with Ty Okada. And, there were a few times where the coverage wasn't great, but I thought he did a really nice job in run support. He gets the 9 tackles. He gets the half a sack. A half a sack should not be a thing. You sack the quarterback, you should get a sack. I thought he played a really nice game stepping into a situation where, guys, we were talking about Ty Okada as a guy who just barely makes this roster. He was a huge part of the Seahawks game today and did a really nice job, I thought, in a situation where we were not expecting him necessarily to do a really nice job.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Ty Okada.
All right, Rob, who's your unsung hero from today's win?
Again, as Chris said, I think there's a number of people you can mention. I definitely want to mention the special teams coach, Jay Harbaugh. I think that his unit absolutely dominated this football game. I think that it really showed the difference between Seattle's second and third stringers, who typically are the ones on special teams, than every other clubs. And they could just really see just how much better Seattle was. But I want to stick with the player here. And it's a player that got an actual sack in this football game. Byron Murphy II, to me, is a guy who is just starting to scratch the surface of who he is. I thought that was going to be the strength of New Orleans Saints. Offensive line would be their center and their guards. They do have some talent along that offensive line, but Seattle was able to kind of shut them down from the get-go, not only in the running game, but also getting the pass rush on Spencer Rattler as well. So Byron Murphy II for me.
All right, Turbo, who's your unsung hero?
Well, I was going to go Mike Morris. Mike Morris.
That call a lot.
Listen, the stat sheet might not say a whole lot behind his name, but I just thought he was just in there. He was always just in the picture. Like when you watch tape the next day after a game, coaches want to know, are you in the film? And it just felt like, man, wherever the ball was, Mike Morris found a way to just be around the ball all game long when he got his opportunities. And so for me, Mike Morris really stood out.
Yeah.
Can I ask Turbo another quick question real quick?
Go ahead.
Chad Surratt, how much crap are you giving him for not finishing off that touchdown on the sideline?
Man, come on, man. A lot. A lot. Okay. There's no hazing that goes on in the league anymore these days, man. But he's gonna get a fine.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the position in the room tomorrow, and he has a fine for sure.
I love it.
That's for sure.
I love that too. I love that. All right. I was going to go off offensive line, no sacks today, but we talked about it a little bit earlier. I got to go Sam Darnold. Rarely are you going to be the quarterback and be the unsung hero, but I feel like today he was. He had the exact same amount of passing yards as Spencer Rattler, but in 21 less attempts.
Yeah.
That is a crazy stat to me. That's efficiency right there. No picks. 2 touchdowns, and it's exactly what we just talked about earlier in the episode. He does everything you need him to do in this game specifically. Again, I'm not saying I don't have questions when you need him to let it loose if you're down by a score or two. I'm curious to see how he performs in that. But so far in this season, I have been very impressed with his play of late. All right. Appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. It's been an awesome episode. I love doing these after a win. So much better than that week 1 loss against the 49ers. So really appreciate everyone. Remember, this is the Seahawks Squad Show. We have 2 episodes every single week, once during the week, and then the second episode is always a post-game show like today. Next week, it's a Thursday night game against the Cardinals, a big division rivalry. This is a chance to kind of, you kind of drop the ball a little bit in week 1 against your division rivals in the San Francisco 49ers. This is a chance to kind of pick it back up a little bit on Thursday night against the Cardinals to start 3-1 on the season. If you would have offered to me 2-1 after 3 weeks, I would have taken that. I don't know about you guys before the season started. I realized that I feel like the Seahawks could have won all 3 games, to be completely honest. But you got to take what you can get at this point in the season. And they've done what they needed to do to kind of keep themselves in the hunt. And I really like the trajectory they're on, especially considering a lot of the injuries they've had on the defensive side of the ball too. So hopefully those guys start to get back for Thursday. We will have 2 episodes once again for you guys this week. One earlier in the week. Don't know about the date just yet. We're trying to figure that out right now. But of course, the second episode will be a post-game show on the Seahawks Squad Show. Appreciate all y'all. Go Hawks. And if you want Mariners content, myself and Chris Crawford will be live later tonight, right after the Mariners game, hopefully after a sweep of the Houston Astros. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good one.
Yes.
What's up?
The Mariners are going to win the World Series, bro.
Let's go, Turbo. You heard it here first.
That's Nostraturbis, that right there. That is what I love to freaking hear.
Hey, I did call the upset in Cleveland today.
Yeah,
The Packers.
There you go.
I got close. I said the Jets were going to beat Tampa Bay, but I got close. I got close.
Well, Turbo, I'll be texting you my picks for next week, buddy. Get ready for a message or two, my friend.
Get your PrizePicks line up with Turbo right now.
Yeah.
Apparently, don't ask me anything fantasy because I.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I won't George Tongas you for sure, but
I'm 0-3, man. I'm with you there. So, geez, it's not good. I'm getting nothing from the quarterback position. All right, that's enough of my own personal life being gross. But we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go Hawks. I'll see you later.